I'm Darren McCarthy.
I'm Dan Fury.
And this is The Fundamentals. And we are obsessing compulsively.
Are we?
About this episode.
I wonder what it is.
We can't get enough of it.
We can't stop.
We know it's a problem.
Yeah.
We're aware.
I understand.
Can't do anything about it.
Still doing it.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Oh, right. This is great.
Yeah. So we're talking about obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Nice. Fairly
Unsatisfying scientifically, at
Really?
least from what I could find. It's kind of like, well, yeah, people with this disorder, their brain might look different on a scan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, what else? Yeah, it's
just a little weird.
It's a little weird. Like, okay. And that was kind of it.
And then?
And I looked up celebrities with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Nice.
We can get into that a little bit. Okay, so what do you know about obsessive compulsive disorder? Let's start with that.
Well, again, it's one of those things that has a wide range of, to varying degrees, does it affect your life and your behavior. You can have just a little thing, like you got to make sure the door's closed. You might check it 2 or 3 times. Or it goes into rituals for yourself, like you have to touch the knob 3 times. You got to spin around and say something. These pathways get carved so specifically, and you got to travel that pathway until you hopefully you're satisfied. And sometimes it's just far too intense.
Yeah, it was interesting researching this a little bit. You and I have talked about panic attacks, and there have been periods in my life where I felt like panic and anxiety. Yeah. But reading this, I was also thinking, I wonder if it was a little bit of the OCD, because whenever I would have these panic attacks, I would have this feeling of what if I needed to vomit?
Oh,
where would I do it?
Yeah.
In this room.
Oh man, that's not a fun thought.
It's one I never throw up.
Yeah, me either. Really,
I mean, really,
I hate it.
Yeah, and really, my whole life, even as a little kid,
yeah,
when I was sick, I just never puked.
I would avoid it at all costs. I would just
I realized I've used 3 different words for throwing up. I used throwing up, vomit, and puke.
Yeah,
I use a different
hurl.
So I had these thoughts like I'm going to spew.
I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah, and then someone had a little tiny cup. It was all folded up, a little paper cup in their pocket. They pulled it and they said, "Hey, if you're gonna spew
into this."
Yeah. So it was an irrational thought. Like, I mean, there have never been times in my life where
it was not
I've
expected.
Just puked. But I would have this thought, like, what if?
And I'm sure that just made your anxiety worse.
Yeah, it would just skyrocket. So, kind of armchair therapist here. I wonder if they're related at all.
I gotta imagine there is some correlation.
Something in the brain there. Well, the obsessive compulsive disorder, it's in the name. So there's 2 sides of this: the obsessive side, the compulsive side. Obsessions, those are the thoughts that are just repeated, like urges, things like that are just repetitive, can't stop them. A few common symptoms, so be a fear of germs, like that's probably pretty common.
Yeah.
There are the unwanted, forbidden, or taboo thoughts, so involving sex, religion, and harm. Some sort of like self-harm thoughts. And then just an obsession with like order, ordering things, keeping things organized. I think all of those get represented pretty well in the popular culture of things. And this is also part of the thing too. I think that it's kind of like depression. My sense is that it's a real thing, and there are people that are really suffering.
Yeah.
And then there's people saying, "Oh yeah, I have that."
Yeah. I'm so that is one of my pet peeves is I'm so OCD.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. Like, you're not crippled. You're not.
But it's also, you're not obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
What you're saying is you are OC, if you really want to be technical about it.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
The compulsions are that's where like the door, checking the door
Mhm.
lock, or touching things, or those compulsions where it's like a physical manifestation of I need to go do this compulsively. I have no
Gotta make
control
sure.
over it. Yeah, cleaning, hand washing, and I guess that's where like you're physically ordering or arranging things to be in a certain order. Yeah. So getting into like what distinguishes this between you and I just going, oh shit, did I lock the door?
Mhm.
Oh, I'll go lock it again. Like there's that. And then there's the 43 times later,
Yeah.
you're still just lock, unlock, lock, unlock, lock,
Right.
unlock, lock, unlock. And it's recognized too. It's
Yeah.
recognized as being,
I know that this is ridiculous.
I know this is not real, but I can't stop. And there's also a time component here. So these are like general things that someone suffering OCD would experience. They'll spend at least an hour a day on these thoughts or behaviors.
Mhm.
And there's no pleasure. It's not like they're doing this as like kind of a like, oh, this feels good. I'm glad I'm doing this. It's more, I'm having terrible anxiety about this.
Yeah.
The only momentary relief is to do this or think these thoughts, or
Right.
So it's just kind of this palliative care of this deeper thing that's going on internally, that they're getting some relief out of this, but they know that what they're doing is like, this is not actually good.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And then there's also some of this will manifest as like a tic, like a physical tic. I mean, that to me is obvious, like is more associated with Tourette's, I think.
Most commonly.
And I'm wondering, this is again like one of those things where I feel like the brain is still a mystery, and just the structures in there and what they do is still a mystery. And I really wonder, this is one of those things where it's like, someone studying OCD, I want them to also look at the scans of someone with schizophrenia or Tourette's or manic depression, or, I mean,
I'm sure they have.
Yeah. And then there's also, to add a little wrinkle to this, there's Obsessive-Compulsive Personality Disorder.
Say what?
Yeah. And I feel like this might be where like the difference between full-on OCD and then I'm so OCD might come in with this a little bit. So they share some symptoms, and in either condition are typically high achievers. I'm quoting here from healthyplace.com. Feel compelled to perform ritualistic actions like excessive hand washing, checking the locks. People with OCD, they experience unwanted intrusive thoughts. So that's where they feel compelled to perform those actions.
Yeah.
With obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, they don't feel the need to perform the repeated ritualistic actions. So people with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, they believe that their thoughts are correct. And it's like, this is the only way to do this. So it's not like recognized as, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like, no, of course I'm doing it this way, because this is the only way to do it.
Gotta.
Yeah. And it's kind of without that idea that anyone else would think this is strange or would do things a different way. And that's where that personality, so OCPD, the personality side of that is just, of course I'm doing it this way. Which that's scary to me.
Yeah.
So we can talk a little bit about causes. Yeah, I didn't get a really good answer of, and I don't think there is a really good answer of like,
is it nature or nurture?
Yeah, I think that this is more nature.
I mean, really? Because
it's
we wouldn't know, but do you think people 2,000-3,000 years ago had these same kind of disorders?
Yeah, but they must have manifested in different ways.
Yeah.
And then you're also living in a time, or speaking about a time where it's like, yeah, that's the town idiot. Where like that was socially acceptable to say like, that guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
People touched by angels.
Yeah.
So I feel like culturally, it would have just been a thing that people are like, yeah, he's a little funny, but he collects.
He's a strange one.
Collects a mean firewood, so he gets to stay in the village.
He's obsessed with firewood.
He's obsessed with collecting firewood. I love that about him. I never want him to change.
That's the best.
So it has a neurobiological basis. There's no definitive cause or causes. So it's believed that is likely the result of a combination of, so neurobiological, genetic, behavioral, cognitive, and environmental factors. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I think I was listening to podcasts about all kinds of medical things, and they had James Fallon, the doctor that was doing scans on the brains of psychopaths for years and years and years, and they found out that he has the same brain structure, and so that led him down that road of why am I not a serial killer?
Yeah,
he was saying, well, it's I have the genetics, the same makeup physically, but those genes weren't turned on. He's saying, but if I had grown up, say, in like an ISIS-controlled part of Mosul, and I was surrounded by violence, or when he was in the womb, my mother's super stressed out, so my brain is bathed in serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by the time I'm 12, I'm probably on the front page of Western newspapers as like an ISIS superstar. He would have been like, and he was just saying, it's just the fact that I grew up in a loving, structured household, and my parents recognized that I needed something to do all the time, and so they kept him in sports, and he was kind of an overachiever in a lot of ways, but he was always had one activity to another, so he was never like left idle.
Right.
And he was talking about how a lot of the behaviors that he's engaged in his life, like he would take risks, and he would subject other people, even family members, to like risky situations, and maybe not even let them know, hey, what we're about to do is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
He would just kind of do it. Ooh. And he had an example. There was like a cave. He was doing work in Africa, and his brother was coming to visit him. And there's this cave where they think like this Ebola outbreak came from. And they based in that movie, that Dustin Hoffman movie, I think it was called Outbreak or something.
Yeah.
The monkey.
Mm-hmm.
The cave that was featured in that is like the cave he took his brother to. It's like, oh yeah, let's go check this cave out. And he was interested in like the bat guano that was in the cave that caused this outbreak of this disease. And his brother was just visiting him in Africa. I was like, oh, this is crazy. It's great. And then 2 years later, he called him up and was like, you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You figured out what happened.
Fucker.
But he was saying, yeah, so those genes were there, and something either is going to trigger it or not trigger it. And in him, didn't get triggered.
Whew.
But he's also
close one.
There's a lot of people that have like killed family members in his ancestry.
Really?
He's related to Lizzie Borden, who like chopped up her mom and dad with an axe.
Hey.
Yikes. I think his one of his ancestors was the Cornell line. It was the first convicted situation of like matricide in the United States. So obviously not the first kid who killed his mom, but first like in the United States, first conviction of.
Whoa.
Yeah. So anyway, back to OCD. It seems like they're just putting every option still on the table of it's probably some sort of genetic neurobiological reason why this is happening. There's some structural thing in the brain, but whether or not it manifests or comes about might have more to do with like the environment and just the nurture side of things. Yeah, which is kind of strange. Like it makes me think a little bit too, but the stroke episode we did of like there could just be these things in your brain that may or may not affect you,
right?
But they're there.
Ugh.
Yeah, this was kind of a surprising number. What do you think the prevalence of OCD is in the population, American?
So diagnosed for sure. We're talking percentage.
Yeah,
I want to say 8.
2.3. 8 seems high.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 in 40. Saying it that way seems high to me.
That's not surprising.
Do you know anyone with OCD? Like diagnosed, not...
I guess not. No.
Not, I always eat my fries
not
first.
That I know.
I mean, I'm so OCD.
Because I'm so weird. I'm so OCD. No. I know some people that have some tendencies.
Yeah.
I guess, but no diagnosis.
Yeah. I wish we had more information about like the causes, but it seems kind of vague. Here's like the direct question. What causes OCD? And all it says here is current research reveals that the brains of individuals who have OCD function differently than the brains of those who do not.
Oh.
That is
no shit.
Just not satisfying to me. What doesn't cause OCD? It's only human nature to want to know what causes an illness.
What?
OCD is often misunderstood, and while researchers are now able to see physical differences in brain function in people with OCD, and so there's no kind of laboratory test. It's just diagnosis through like a mental health professional,
right?
Whether or not you have this.
Now, do you think that this is something that might be misdiagnosed?
I have a feeling my sense here, what other conditions may coexist with OCD?
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety disorders, major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, feeding, eating disorders, autism, Tourette's. I really get the sense that OCD is probably like the chances of you having OCD and something else on that list are probably pretty high.
Yeah, it's like a cluster.
It'd be pretty strange to just have OCD, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
The OCD part of it too, it goes hand in hand to me with every one of those things. So anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, ADHD, the feeding, eating. So much of it it's kind of like your brain running away on its own.
Rogue brain.
Let's see here. Also, body dysmorphic disorder, hoarding disorder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, hair pulling, skin picking, nail biting, lip biting, cheek chewing, obsessional jealousy. Oh, no, take it back. I know a lot of people with that. Yeah, and so the recommendation for treatment is cognitive behavioral therapy, which I've been hearing a lot about that more and more, just about treating anxiety, depression, just trying to like recognize the behaviors of your brain, change it.
Yeah.
Like through recognition.
Mm-hmm. Is this something that there is a course of treatment for?
Yeah, it can be treated, and I think especially with OCD and not the obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, with OCD, recognizing that what you're doing doesn't make sense, that has to help. That has to help in treatment. There's the underlying issue that's driving you to this. Like, why do you think that the door needs to be locked and unlocked?
40 times.
40 times. Let's get down to the root cause. And so it's not so much the behavior, but what's driving the behavior that you need to treat. Because if you're still having that thought, you're just white knuckling. Like, all right, I'm not going to go lock the door. I'm just going to sit here, and then I'm just going to force myself to not go do it. Like, but you're still having that compulsion or that obsession to do so. Like, that doesn't seem sustainable. Yeah.
No.
So some famous people.
Yeah.
Here's the annoying thing here. Again, the famous people who likely have obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. I have a couple lists here. Listen to this list.
Check this out.
Starts off people like Megan Fox, Justin Timberlake, David Beckham, Jessica Alba. It's like 4 of the most gorgeous people on the planet Earth.
Where?
Yeah, doing this research, I feel like it's just something that is attributed to personality traits.
Yeah, they just read an article one time. I bet I know exactly where the Megan Fox thing comes from, because I remember her talking one time about how gross it is if you leave the toilet seat up when you flush, because fecal matter will fly all around.
Right.
So she's obsessed with keeping that thing closed.
Yeah.
But
Cameron Diaz admitted in a 1997 article that she suffered from a phobia of germs that caused her to clean the doorknobs in her house so many times that she faded their paint.
Okay.
She has since made her peace with this phobia. She even removed stitches from The Daily Show host Jon Stewart's wrists on camera.
Wait, what? Oh, to show that she wasn't...
She probably just had a picking
grossed
thing
out
going on. She was obsessively picking.
She removed his stitches?
Yeah. I think I have OCD.
That's weird.
I removed stitches. I was thinking about that today.
Huh.
Dude, I need to go to the doctor so bad.
Bro.
I'm feeling like I'm just waiting. I've just been waiting for someone to tell me I have cancer.
I know. We talked about it.
It's not
I thought
good.
you had an appointment coming up.
Next Friday.
Oh, shit.
Fucking the last podcast ever, man.
No, you're going to be okay. We can fight it.
That would be...
Get that chemo in you.
Yeah. Oh, my God. OCD, I would take it. Oh, guess who's next? Donald Trump. Host of the hit television show The Apprentice, also the president of the United States.
Fucking United States of America.
And again, here, he admits to having borderline OCD, fear of germs.
Fake news.
Yeah. Especially, he would not shake hands with people, especially teachers. That explains a
Especially
lot.
teachers.
Limited contact with teachers. He says they have 17,000 germs per square inch on their desks. His phobia also prevents him from touching the ground floor button on elevators.
No. Wait, he said that?
Yeah.
Where did
What?
he get that?
This is on,
I can't believe anything he says,
yeah,
ever.
Leo DiCaprio. I can kind of see that. He's a
For
weirdo.
some reason that doesn't.
Yeah, not intriguing at all. I think he's kind of a shut-in anyway.
But what about Justin Timberlake? Where did that come from?
Howie Mandel. He's fairly famous for this.
Yes. Won't shake hands.
Yep.
Only bones.
Keeps his head shaved in order to feel more clean.
Is that true?
Wow.
I thought he was just bald. He did have a pretty good head of hair before.
Yeah. Dirty
That's
hair.
interesting.
So David Beckham's OCD is just obsession with pairing items and organizing them by color or type. This is according to his wife, Victoria Beckham.
Yes.
Posh Spice.
Right.
He's purchased 3 refrigerators so that he can have one for drinks, one for salads, and one for other foods.
What?
Jesus Christ.
Now that's just rich people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the wealthier you are, the better it is to have OCD.
Mm-hmm. So I can have 3 refrigerators. Yeah. One for salads? What?
If there's 3, he has to have things in even numbers as well.
Where are you reading this?
This is on healthcentral.com.
And this is all cited?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
I guess.
What am I, President Trump? If there's 3 cans of Diet Coke, you throw one away instead of having 3 because it has to be an even number.
Oh, wow.
Fuck.
Again, rich.
Yeah. Let's see. I got some prevalence here. So, obsessive-compulsive disorder among adults. This does seem like it's just part of it's a part of a more global thing in people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, I don't know, it seems so general to me. Like, I like things clean. I'm afraid of germs. Like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know
well,
this is...
I mean, to a certain degree, you should be.
You should be. It's probably what has kept the species going.
Mm-hmm.
People being afraid of things.
Don't touch poop.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if you have OCD and you are extremely germophobic, and specifically you're like terrified of poop, but you have to poop, so you have to interact?
Yeah. I watched a video of a guy who had that situation, and it was an ordeal.
Yeah. What if you accidentally?
So he would
get a little.
Like he would wipe to the point of it's just like there's dry paper being dragged across your butt. But then he would wash his hands like crazy.
Yeah.
Several times. But then he would be afraid that somehow there would be some poop stain on his like clothing on the back. So he would afraid that somehow my shirt touched my butt. Or like maybe I didn't wipe enough. So he'd be in there forever.
Oh no!
Looking in the mirror, like trying to check the back of it, taking his shirt off.
Where's the poop? It's there somewhere.
It's on here somewhere.
If he was feel at home, extreme sympathy for that.
He would change. Yeah. I mean, it was brutal.
Oof.
And he like walks through his routine, and it just looks terrible.
Yeah.
And he knows too. He knows I'm just pooping.
Everybody does it.
Everybody poops. There's books about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just obsessive.
I hate poop.
Yeah.
No poop ever.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. A major note. Anything you want to know? Any questions you have?
Well, seems to me it's probably likely that the obsessive compulsive personality disorder, a person who is more like that might just, I could see them becoming obsessed and having different rituals throughout their life. Like it's just the type of mind they have, so that
seems debilitating to me.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, because you
rather than having one.
Yeah. Or just being unaware.
Right.
That what you're doing is nuts.
Yeah.
That's the distinction.
This, I think, you could attribute to extremely ritually religious people.
Yep.
Like a lot of Catholic things, like, doing the cross thing and Hail Marys, certain prayers that you repeat word for word. And I think that was probably largely attributed to this kind of thing, hundreds of years ago, rather than the three refrigerator problem.
Well, I think it's the ritual nature of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I see a lot of just human behavior in OCD behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Of just the ritualistic, the pattern seeking, pattern recognition. You need to do things right or else bad things will happen.
Step on a crack, break your mother's back.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that dinosaur movie.
Uh-huh.
That kind of makes sense to me. But I think this also makes me wonder, living in the world we live in now, the news aside, it's the safest time to live in the safest country to live in, like statistically, historically, and, there's obviously terrible things that happen all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Chances of it happening to you as low as they've ever been. But that being said, we come from a species that bad shit has always happened.
Yeah.
It's always been right around the corner, either from like external forces, like people killing people, or subjugating them to unknown horror, or germs killing people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is everyone in my village dying? Like,
we do have a much higher survival rate of diseases and viruses.
Mm-hmm. So point being that it's very recent that we've lived in and it's not global either. Like we living in the West, in the United States, especially statistically speaking, it's as safe as it gets. But we come from thousands and thousands and thousands and like every gene in our body is still kind of going, dude, I don't trust this shit. There is something coming.
Yeah. Not all as well.
Not right. I don't feel comfy.
Not entirely.
Not putting the sweatpants on.
Is the door locked?
Yeah. Is the door locked?
Is the oven on?
Are my hands clean? So that part of it, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. Did you find out if OCD is most prevalent in this country? I would imagine that it is.
Well,
do we need to do some live research?
I think I do actually. I did have me find the. Yeah, so I think the global estimates would be approximately 2.3% of the population globally. In the U.S., approximately 3.3 million people have OCD, of which somewhere around 1% is the pediatric population and 2% of the adult. And that's also the other thing. It kind of will be onset later on. I think that's the other thing too. It seems to be more prevalent after puberty. So you have this like flood of hormones. I think that's the thing too. Is like, that's it's a weird side of puberty that does not necessarily get discussed, even when like you're going through it. So you're gonna get some hair. You're gonna have funny thoughts about. It's like, no, you're gonna get some like full on hormones.
Yeah. And you're going to change the way
it's going to change your
look and feel.
It's going to change your body.
Yeah.
Like you're going through something that you're not, it's not just.
It's pretty heavy stuff.
You eating a lot? That's nothing.
Yeah. It's a growing boy.
Yeah. Think about the flood of hormones. Like if that continued, if you just perpetually.
Oh my God.
Like think about the road that you start down.
Yeah.
It's not just, yeah, you got a lot taller this year, didn't you? It's like, no, I'm mostly wild animal.
Yeah. I got all kinds of shit going on.
I'm just a thinking human brain trapped in this animal body and hanging on for dear life. Yeah.
It seems like the best way to treat it is cognitive behavioral therapy. Mm-hmm. Is there medication associated with
nothing directly
treatment?
I think nothing that was specifically for OCD.
I wonder if drugs meant for anxiety or bipolar disorder, those kinds of things, affect the level of that disorder or how it manifests. If it either subdues or possibly increases it.
Right. I'm trying to look up the pharmacological treatments Yeah, I think this is still saying it's going to be at least some form of like a combination of things,
Yeah.
if anything at all, but nothing specifically is popping up.
I feel like there's got to be more layers.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is, and I'm sure
Is there some people that just have this perpetually their whole life?
Yeah, some will be severe, and it will just last for decades or for their whole life. And then for people, it will kind of like come and go.
Sometimes it's just a phase.
Yeah. So for some people, it will be like a 12-month thing, like 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I'm thinking, I've had those periods like around a year.
I'm with you. There have been several times when I've thought to myself, could this behavior actually fall into that category of being diagnosed with?
Do you have stuff like the hand washing?
No, not really. There have been several times when I have left my house to go to work, started driving away, and the thought that I didn't lock the door was so strong that I had to come back and check it. And I had the thought, like, this is ridiculous. Of course it's locked. It's just that's almost a mindless thing that I do every time.
Well, that to me seems like...
It's not obsessive, I guess.
No. If you do, like, every day, I had to start waking up half an hour early because I would just do it 6 times in a row. Like, that would be...
Yeah, that's true.
You know? How many times did you do that, do you think?
It seemed like there was a period where that compulsion was there for a few months.
You can see, too, where that... So it happens once, and then it's like, all right, it's possible.
Yeah.
That seed is planted. Like, it's possible.
Yeah. Same thing with like my car doors. Sometimes if I walk away, and because that's like a mindless thing, it's just what you do when you get out of your car. You don't even remember, even a few seconds ago. So wait, did I do that? I'll walk back to the car to check. And once in a while, I didn't.
Yeah.
So that sets the precedent.
Do you have the button to...
I do now, yeah.
Boop, boop. Yeah.
But one door doesn't react to that. So I have to, if I have...
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. So sometimes I got to double check.
Throw that car away. That's...
There's bigger problems. I wish I could throw it away. I am very particular about my record collection.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it sits on the shelf. I have it organized by genre and then A to Z. Sometimes I'll just look at the shelves for a while to make sure that everything looks the way I think it should. If it's leaning too far or something like that. I am very particular about the aesthetics of...
So what is the determining factor for you?
They need to be as vertical as possible.
Okay.
But say the cube, like it's in like an 8-cubed shelf.
Uh-huh.
And one cube is not full all the way.
Right.
So there has to be a gradual leaning from one side.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just stand straight up and let's say like a bookend or something. So I don't want them to be leaning too far against each other.
Is there, and these are records?
Yeah, vinyl records.
Is there any performance issue if like they're not stored properly?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. If you got one that's just totally
like 45 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all like that, so that say they're all leaning 45 degrees against the edge of the cube. If there's enough of them, the combined pressure is going to warp the ones on the farthest end. So yeah, it's that kind of stuff.
All right. So you have a little saving grace there. There's some danger to them being damaged.
Yeah, it's not completely,
not totally nuts. Yeah. That you would want. I mean, it's an investment in general.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll just look at them for a while. Like, is everything where it should be, even though I haven't touched them prior? I don't know. Stuff like that.
It sounds like OCD to me.
Yeah. And sometimes there's just thought patterns that they keep repeating.
Yeah.
Not necessarily combined with an action. But
even looking at these, there's really not much, like, you know, I was reading off some of the names of these websites. The bulk of this information came from the National Institute of Mental Health. I mean, it's a government website.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that, like, that's where they're like, yep, this just kind of happens. It wasn't as... didn't seem as well studied, or there wasn't like a treasure trove of information that I found right off the bat, which you would think for 1 in 40 people, there would have been like, here's the clinic that specializes in this it would have popped right up. I think that's the funny thing about it is that it's very human.
Yeah.
It's not that strange to think these thoughts, I don't think. And it's only, to me, the obsessive compulsive personality disorder, that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Because it's affecting the way you're going to function in society and the way that you relate to other people. And, I could see a lot of like job opportunities kind of going out the window, or, relationship situations coming up with that kind of thing. With OCD, I feel like you're recognizing that this doesn't change anything. This is just like a silly thought.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, I don't think that anyone makes it through life without this on some level.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's like you're diagnosable as OCD or not, there is some spectrum here of this is just normal human behavior.
Yeah. And I usually come to that conclusion with myself. Like I'm just a little bit neurotic about some stuff.
The thing with your records, though, is you give a shit about...
Yeah, but it's not like that's ever happened to me because I've always been that way.
Yeah.
And it's not like anyone else has touched my shelves. I know as I'm looking at them, they are the way I left them. They are fine.
Yeah.
But I just look at the aesthetic. It's just a confirmation. I wasn't really this way so much as a kid, but I've become a more organized person. So like even my computer desktop is very organized. My file system is very specifically organized, but I don't think that something terrible is going to happen if that's not the case.
Yeah.
Attention to detail is not...
That to me just kind of seems like, you're human.
Yeah.
You passed the test. Phew. This time.
What about you?
I mean, the older I get and the more interaction I have with other people, the more certain I am that I'm just my own weird version.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you got to check on the baby? Like make sure he's breathing?
Less and less. I mean, I think that definitely I would say is like...
I can imagine that being a particularly stressful thing.
The first couple months, I mean, I totally... And I don't think I never like went into his room to hold a mirror underneath his nose, anything like that. I think just being a parent, you have irrational thoughts.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing you can do about it. Because it's just all of a sudden the worst case scenario in your life doesn't involve you physically.
Right. It's outside.
It's externalized. Like, yeah, it would suck if your parents or your siblings, like I would be devastated.
Mm-hmm.
It would ruin me if my parents or my brother, died in some unusual way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would be terrible. I can't imagine it. But if something happened to the baby, I would kill myself. I mean, it's just like those are like the irrational thoughts you have. That's where the stakes are.
Right.
So imagine anything happening to him, especially when he was like a week old.
Yeah, totally helpless.
It's just so like the stakes are just so much higher. But again, and it kind of makes sense that you have the thoughts that you have are going to be, what's the most extreme thought you could have about the situation? It's like, there's no other person or situation in your life that is going to, the most extreme will be more extreme than that most extreme, So that being said, it's just like, yeah, you have these irrational thoughts all the time, especially when my wife was still pregnant. I mean, just all kind of like, what's the worst case scenario? That's the thought you have.
Yeah.
When he was born,
pretty natural.
What's the worst case scenario? All right, that's the thought you're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
And it just pops up, and you kind of go, "Yep, that's the worst case scenario."
That would be the worst,
and it's irrational, and it's still there.
Yeah.
All right. Try to do some housework, something to get my mind off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, Yeah, I think it just kind of comes with the territory, though. But then it's also, what's the best case scenario? And it's just better. And yeah, so if you think about having kids, I would recommend it. But just know that if you're anything like me,
Yeah.
there will be
The worst thoughts ever.
But it's also kind of grounding.
Sure.
I think it's definitely a wake up call.
Yeah.
It's definitely insane.
This is life and you're responsible.
I was telling you, I was listening to that Dr. James Fallon guy that was that psychopath brain. And it was almost a coincidence that he had his brain scanned and that he knew what a psychopath's brain looked like at all. But I've been thinking, like, that's something I don't know anything about myself like that.
Right.
Like, I kind of want to have my brain scanned. I think I don't. I'm either really in touch with myself emotionally, or I am completely turned off, and I can't tell. You know what I mean?
It's either one or the other.
Well, because I feel like I do experience emotions, and
I've seen it.
Yeah, and I cry once a decade. I mean, it's
I was
in
gonna
there.
say, when was the last time you cried?
2009.
You didn't cry when your kid was born?
I teared up a little bit, but no, I didn't cry.
Nah.
I my eyes welled,
and
I was extremely happy.
What was 2009?
That was when my roommate committed suicide, and I found his body. That was got the hall pass on that one.
Okay.
Like,
holy shit! Did I know that?
maybe not. Quite possibly not.
I think that you had told me that your roommate had committed suicide. I think that other bit was new.
Yeah. So he.
That's crazy.
He committed suicide in our apartment, and there was 3 of us that lived there. So it was my college roommate and I, and then his best friend from high school, who then became a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And this was when I first moved to Portland, and
this is somewhat familiar.
Yeah, and he had gotten into like a fight with his girlfriend, or they had been arguing, and then 2 days went by, and she hadn't heard from him, so she called my other roommate, who was at work, and he called me, and I was at home, and he said, "Hey, can you go see if Corey's up? Tell him to call his girlfriend." So like, yeah, sure. Hang on a second. So I'm like on the phone with the third roommate and go upstairs to his room, find his body on the floor. And I was just like, still on the phone. I was like, I need to call you back. I need to hang up and call 911.
Oh my!
And so it was like, just hung up, went over, touched him. He was like ice cold. So I just went downstairs and took a deep breath, and then called 911. Couldn't stay in the house. So I called 911, said that, I just found my roommate. I think he's dead. So I went downstairs. I was like, I just need to get out of this house. And in that time, his girlfriend showed up. And so she showed up, and I said, I really don't think you should go upstairs. And then she just started crying, I think, knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
And she just ran inside, and then came right back out. I was weeping. And then the police showed up. They went upstairs, and I showed them the body. I haven't thought about this in a while. So I waited kind of like on it was 2 floors, and I waited on our lower floor with one of the cops, and then some other detectives went up there, looked around. They ended up finding a note, which I hadn't seen, because I was in the room, and I was like, I can't be in here.
Yeah.
It's a really big regret in my life. Actually, we didn't call his mom. Like, we didn't do it, but the police called.
Yeah.
And I really regret that. But I think it was one of those things where we just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was cowardice, I think, in retrospect, because you don't really have any language to describe the situation. And you don't, and you don't need any. Like now, I kind of realize, like I'll never make that mistake again. Like even if it's someone who's just like an associate of, someone I barely know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still more personal, and there's still a connection. Like you still have you're still a connection to their family member when that family member was alive.
Yeah.
More so than like some random cop. And the way that worked was the police in Portland called the police in his parents' town.
Oh.
Like that's just how they do it, I think. So then, and because the time difference was like 10 o'clock at night by the time the cop showed up at his parents' house.
I see. Yeah.
And they have I think they have like a grief counselor like ready right there. Yeah. And the way I understand it, they told his mom and stepdad. At the time, his sister was like 10. And I think that she was already in bed, but she woke up and like could hear the conversation downstairs. So she's found out like upstairs in her room alone.
Yeah.
And, she adored him. And like, he told me all the time that it was just like, she was his favorite person. Like he loved her so much. So I didn't really cry at all. Even right after finding him, I got very drunk. Like actually one of the few times I threw up. Yeah, from drinking. Yeah, got very drunk, and then that was Wednesday, and then I think by Friday we were back east, and we went to his parents' house, and like we walked into the house, and then as soon as I saw his sister, I just like she was like holding me up, like she was like 10, and I was just like collapsing on her.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then that was it. Just like that one night, just cried my eyes out, and yeah, it's coming up in a decade. I'm due.
Damn, man. That's really intense. So he'd been up there for a couple of days?
I think that it was Monday like night, early like Tuesday morning when his girlfriend last saw him. And then this was when I was working the graveyard shift.
Mm.
And I think that it was sometime more like Tuesday night into Wednesday morning that he actually committed suicide. And we know that he was using a lot of opiates.
Oh.
And drinking, and I think he ate like 100 Oxycontin or something. It was something crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah, so he basically just went to sleep.
Damn. But you had been in the house and didn't know? Yeah,
I didn't know. So he was upstairs in his room, probably for like, I don't know, 12 hours or so. Yeah, so I was working the graveyard shift, so I just came home, and like his bedroom was the only room like upstairs. So there's kind of no reason to like, walk by. Yeah, it's kind of like this house.
It probably wasn't uncommon to just not hear him.
Well, he was kind of on his own schedule, doing his own thing quite often, so to go up to his room in general was just kind of like, it's fairly intrusive, because it's not like I'm just walking by. It's, hey, walking into your space now. And, we all worked kind of shitty restaurant jobs and bars and that kind of thing. So our schedules were nuts anyway. And he was working at a bar, and he would work like the dinner shift, and, the bar would close at 2:30, and they would all stay at the bar, like the employees and some of their friends and the friends and family discount. And they would just drink at the bar until 6, 7 in the morning. And
oh boy.
So it wasn't that unusual to not see him for a day or two. I mean, it's not like it was 2 weeks or something, something ridiculous, but
I have not seen a dead body that wasn't in a casket.
Yeah, I knew instantaneously that he was dead.
Just, it's kind of unmistakable.
The way the stairs are too, it's like you walk up and then you take a turn, and then you're going up to like the main thing, and you go up 2 steps and you can kind of see the floor and on his room, and like he was on the floor. And as soon as I saw him, and like I'm still on the phone, I was like, this conversation's over. And I'm hanging up. And then as soon as I touched his back, I was just like, there's no, because the first thought was maybe it might be some CPR situation here, but it's pretty clear.
Shit, dude.
It's brutal. And that's something too. I've speaking of irrational thoughts with the baby. feel like he's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I think he would have been so good with this baby.
Oh.
Would have been like, I think about him, he was 26 when he died. And I think about him and just with my baby's personality, he would have made the baby laugh so hard. And I think the baby laughing would have made him laugh.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I could just see, like not everyone enjoys that or like would really get into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the baby doesn't laugh at anything or anyone, like just for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
But just knowing the two of them, I have a feeling that it's this relationship that it's like, I think it would have, like it kind of warms my heart to even imagine it.
Yeah.
I've thought about that quite a bit. And it's one of those things I can't say, it's not like a regret, it's like not the same thing, not the same
right.
emotion. But I just kind of know, like they would have been buddies.
Yeah.
Like I have no doubt.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It's just, it's really hard. He's the friend that I went to the Scientology church with.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I remember his name.
Yeah, Corey Michael Hayes. I think about him all the time. All like my irrational thoughts about being a dad and having a baby and all that aside, I feel like I feel really, again, I'm either just in touch with my emotions and I think, and I kind of lean this way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in touch with my emotions. I experience emotions. I have emotions, but I'm not controlled by them. I'm not like just irrationally losing my mind over stuff.
Right.
I feel well addressed.
Except for thinking that you have cancer.
Except for that. Like, but,
But you do.
But we don't know that I don't yet. So let's only joke so far. Because this might not be as funny in a week. Oh, God, I hope I don't have cancer.
So, OCD, huh?
OCD. Yeah, I wish it was more scientific than it was. It's kind of more psychological.
Right.
And I think, too, you have that cocktail of like anxiety, depression,
it's all in
Tourette's. I mean, and neurobiologically talking about it as like, well, yeah, there's a difference in this person's brain. Okay, but
sure.
But then it's like, yeah, we don't know anything about the brain. So
brain's so weird, man.
Yeah, it's in there. It's brainy.
Just does stuff. It would be so. I mean, for me, and I'm sure for pretty much anyone, it'd be so incredibly frustrating for your mind to be telling your body to do something that at the same time your mind is telling you is a ridiculous thing to do.
Yeah.
And you just keep doing it. And you're just in this loop.
That comes back to just like, I think like meditation.
Uh-huh.
And this is something, and again, back to Sam Harris. He's talked about this all the time. He's like, it's, if you really need proof that there is no free will, try meditating. So try sitting and only focusing on your breath and not controlling it, but it's just the sensation physically, the sensation of air passing through your nostrils and out of your nostrils.
Mm-hmm.
And see how many breaths you can do before you think, did I lock the door? Did I wash my hands?
Yeah.
It's one. Like you have no control over your thoughts.
Yeah.
Even if you say, I'm going to sit down for 20 minutes and just focus solely on breathing. You'll do 5.
Yeah. The whole point is to reconcile that.
To then say,
accept it.
Okay, my mind wandered back to the breath.
Yeah.
So then you have something like OCD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the state of things. You don't have control.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain is just, you're thinking what you're thinking. And with OCD, it's just like, let's ramp it up here. Let's add a little nitrous oxide to this engine. And,
let's pump it up.
But you're still recognizing. So in a way, it's almost like you are recognizing that your mind is wandering.
Mm-hmm.
But not wandering, it's focusing.
It's doing weird shit. God. It's so weird that it's such a wide array of actions and patterns.
Yeah.
Too.
It seems to revolve around safety, too.
It often does, yeah.
But I mean, in general, like the germs, the locking.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta touch this thing, because if I don't, bad things will happen,
Yeah.
It's like an insecurity, a sense of insecurity, not like I'm insecure about my hair.
Yeah.
Like I'm, the sense of not being safe.
Yeah, that's true. I remember you remember MTV True Life?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, bro. There was one on OCD, I remember.
Yeah.
I should try to find it's probably on YouTube. There's probably actually a lot of YouTube content. Either people are making them about themselves.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's pretty active community to be found.
Do you think though it gets into the pimple popping kind of thing? Ooh. Like, look at my OCD, and other people are like, yeah, I like looking at this OCD.
Yeah, probably. Man, we did a lot. Most of it was not about the topic that we chose.
That's fine.
That's all right, man.
I don't want it to feel like work, I want it to feel like
that's right.
An interesting conversation. We learned a little bit.
Yeah.
We learned the fundamentals of OCD.
That's what we do.
Easy.
I'm definitely going to look up some YouTube videos.
I have a feeling you're going to get into like fetish zone quick.
Probably.
It's not going to be, hi, I'm Dr. McCarthy and I'm at the OCD Institute of America. It's going to be, okay, you guys want to watch me stack blocks?
Yeah. Here's a time-lapse video of me doing all my weird shit.
Here's me cleaning my house. Enjoy.
I'm so OCD.
Yeah. Just comments of just like, oh, yeah. I love that.
All right.
All right. Well.
Cool.
I'm Darren McCarthy.
I'm Dan Fury.
And this has been The Fundamentals.
Thanks.